Imagine an old Maserati racing through the desert, driven by a famous YouTuber and joined by two other semi-famous YouTubers. The car worn out, the interior gutted, the engine on fire. How did that car end up in Wichita, Kansas? This is the story of that very car. What's up, everybody? My name is Elliott, but you can call me the Motory Notary, or you can call me Steven or Jacob. It doesn't matter. Anyway, if you couldn't tell by the intro and thumbnail, today is story time, so pull up an ice block and lend an ear, and let me tell you the story of how this Maserati ended up in Wichita, Kansas. It was late one evening in August, and I got a random text from Tyler Hoover of Hoovies Garage. He said, "Hey, do you want a Car Trek car?" And I obviously was intrigued by that. It was a Maserati in white with all of this racing stuff going on. He had sent some pictures of the car, and it was a little hard to tell the condition of the car from the pictures because they were kind of in the garage of the house they were renting. I could kind of see the interior, and I could tell it wasn't right. I couldn't tell exactly what was going on with it, but I could tell it wasn't right. And when he sent me a picture of the engine compartment, I could clearly see how much fire extinguisher residue was going on there. But Tyler said, don't worry about it, it's all been taken care of. And I said, I'm interested, how much? And he let me know that Tavarish was only asking about $5,000 for it. Instantly, my mind started racing of how cool this would be for the channel, how cool the car would be. This is it, of course I want it. One major problem, my wife was asleep, so there was no way I could run this by her. I texted Tyler back, please let him know I'm interested. I will let you know first thing in the morning. Because that would give me a chance to kind of explain the situation to my wife, tell my dad, basically tell anybody who would have any say in this kind of a purchase. Tyler said, okay. And I was just the rest of the night bouncing off the walls, thinking of the potential of this car. I immediately called my dad, told him the excitement about it, told him the potential of the car, kind of was really upselling him on the concept. I wanted to wake my wife up just then, but being that our daughter was still really young and she was still kind of fighting with that, I really didn't want to risk it. So a couple of hours go by after I'd called my dad and I'm still bouncing off the walls, and Tyler said, never mind, you took too long, car sold. I can't even begin to explain the pit in the stomach that I got when he texted me that. I was like, oh my gosh, I went from being on a mountain high of excitement and potential and my mind racing to Tyler being like, never mind, you took too long, car sold. And I realized why. I was like, well, I should have just told him yes immediately, but it was a matter of money. It was a matter of discussing it with my wife. There were a lot of factors at play, but regardless, I was just devastated. But to make matters worse, he'd also told me that it was sold and it was going to a reseller of cars. Turns out it was John Ficarra, who you saw on Car Trek. But basically his plan for the car was to undo all of this and flip it, because it's still a good car. It still has value, maybe not in this state, but it had value. And I was just devastated. I was like, no, that guy's just gonna make, a quick buck on it. I really want this for my YouTube channel. Like, this car has more potential. It could live on. Not only did I miss out on it for not saying yes immediately, but it was going to a dealer for kind of a quick flip. So I went to bed extremely disappointed. But the next morning, after texting with a buddy about it, I got the idea to text Tyler and tell him to offer Tavarish a little bit more money, because even if I offered him more, it was still less than the car was worth, and I really, really wanted this thing. He talked to Tavarish, and Tavarish said, yeah, sure, great, I'll sell it to you instead. So I was back on cloud 9 after being super low the night before. A little time goes by, Tyler texted me and said, never mind, John Ross bought it of Watch JR Go. So I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I lost the car again. I mean, at this point, we have gone through a major roller coaster of highs and lows. I'm just like, all right, you know what? Screw it. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. But an hour goes by and Tyler texts me again. He said, just kidding. John Ficarra backed out. The car's yours. Back for the original price. I really had to call him and double check to make sure he wasn't messing with me, because I was really getting tired of getting yanked around with emotions on this car. But he was serious. The car was mine. After I secured the car, I just had to send Tavarish some money and wait for the transport to come pick it up. Tyler's car and this car were both in the same place at the end of filming. We arranged to have both cars delivered together. A few weeks go by, the cars are arriving. This is super exciting to me. It had been a long time since I'd actually gotten a new car of any kind, and it had been even longer since I'd seen a car delivered on a covered trailer. I didn't even care what else was on the trailer. I just wanted to see this car because I'd only seen really 3 pictures of it, and Car Trek wasn't out yet, so you know, I just really didn't know what I was getting into, but I was so excited to have a Maserati for just $5,000. My family is here, everybody's taking pictures. Tyler was kind of wondering why it was such a big deal because, you know, to them, these are just cheap cars. Like, what is the big deal? But I've never been more excited to receive a vehicle. They open up the trailer, they move Tyler's car out, and they fire this thing up, and I'm telling you, the first time I heard it, I got goosebumps. This is pretty unreal. This is my first time seeing it, and it's a lot cooler in person than it is in pictures. I can't wait to hear it start up for the first time. And I just couldn't believe that that sound was coming out of a car that was going to be mine. So they back it off the trailer. Tyler immediately gets in it and kind of does a small little parking lot circle so I can hear it. I'm a little shocked at the condition. I had known it was not right from the pictures, but in person it was way, way worse than it had been advertised. The black playmat that you guys have seen was there. All of Tavarish's trash was in there. I mean, we're talking water bottles, beard oil, all of this just random crap from all of filming was all over the place in the car. The window didn't work on the driver's side, and the seat was stuck all the way down and pretty much all the way reclined. So when I got in it, I felt like a little kid reaching up at the steering wheel and trying to like sit up to drive. Immediately, Tyler and I took it out on its first drive, and man, that was a memorable experience. I remember kind of having to look around because the seat was in this weird position and the car was very loose and the shift bushings are bad. It was just all of this stuff happening at once, but it didn't matter. I was so excited about having the car. I didn't even think about, you know, the wires that were in my face from the headliner being missing, and it was just so cool to be in now my Maserati with Tyler Hoover, a guy I greatly look up to. It was just a surreal experience. So now we have the car. It's my Maserati. Now what? I was on an unofficial review embargo because I got this car in August, but Car Trek itself didn't air until like end of October or something. So I just had this car that I couldn't show in any of my videos and I couldn't really do any videos on, and it was just torture knowing I had this car but not really being able to do anything with it. Time goes on, Car Trek airs, and everybody loved it. I loved watching it. It was very, very weird seeing a car that I'd already had for 2 months be on the show and be, you know, driven around. Obviously, all of Ed Bolian's comments were hilarious. He was constantly taking stabs at this car, and almost all of them are pretty spot on, both of the kind of person that would do this to their car and of this car in general. And it's kind of funny, I had just gone on a trip and recorded like 4 full videos every single day with my buddy Jacob in Arizona. And the day I got back is the day Tyler texted me and said, "You ready to have a video going? You can release them tomorrow and you better have one." So I was like, well, I guess I'm putting one together. So my biggest video that has ever happened on my channel got put together in a couple of hours. And boy, couldn't have asked for a better result. This thing was awesome. Everybody seemed to be very excited that it was getting a new life. I was thrilled at the reception. My subscriber count went up. It was just perfect. Everything that I wanted out of this car was realized in like one day, and it was just unbelievable. Now the world has been introduced to the car. They know it's mine, but everything is still wrong with it. I haven't touched it. I haven't really repaired it. I had changed the oil and done a few like minor things that I could while I was here, but I was still missing all of the interior pieces, and I was missing some of the parts that Tavarish said that he had but didn't put on, and I didn't want to reorder, like the oil pressure sender and so on and so forth. So I went back and forth with Tavarish, got the pallet of parts here about a month later, and that's when the reconstruction of the Car Trek Maserati began. First, put the interior back in, and that was quite the task. My buddy Jacob helped with that, but that was a lot of fun, and although it was a big undertaking, the car looks so much more presentable. It's unbelievable what a difference having the interior pieces back in this thing made. The next thing I did was put the oil pressure sender on, which was a difficult video to make because it's all in the back and behind the engine and under the firewall, so I couldn't really show what was being done, but it was kind of a difficult job. But got that done, so the oil pressure gauge works on the car now. After that, there was a few minor things on the car that I may or may not have put in videos, but the biggest thing, and where we lead up to now, is the clutch installation. Now, the clutch was an issue right when I got the car. Driving the car for a minute, I realized this clutch can't hold power. It's done. I kind of just had lived with that for a while until Tyler had found a used clutch, sent me a link and said, hey, what about this? And I said, well, sure. So I got the clutch and it ended up riding around in the trunk of the car for probably a couple of months before I could finally work out a time for both me and Johnny to put it in. And that's what you saw in the last video. Johnny came in on his day off and we spent all day Saturday disassembling the entire car, it felt like, to put in the clutch in this car. The entire rear subframe had to come out and it almost fell off the lift. It was just an incredible amount of work and disassembly to put the clutch in this car. And as you saw in the video, that's why they charge, you know, $7,500 at a Maserati dealer to do that same job that Johnny charged me not nearly enough for, especially when it came to his time and everything. Now you're kind of caught up. That's the story of how I got the car, what I've done to it so far, but there's still a little bit of what's to be done. As you could also see in the Johnny video, it needs suspension all the way around. And I had seen from the work that I had done that the bushings were bad. I could tell that just from looking at them. But what I couldn't tell, and I didn't know until Johnny had it up on the lift, was the shocks are also blown. This thing needs about $2,000 to $3,000 worth of full suspension work before it'll drive correctly. Not to mention that, but the valve cover gaskets are leaking. It's got some spark plug gaskets, I believe, in the pile of Tavares parts over there that I could probably put on as well. But this car is still not done yet, but with the clutch installed and everything else, it is a long way from where I got it, and that's where we are now. So that's pretty much it. Now you're all caught up. You know how I came to get this car, what I've done to it so far, and what still needs to be done. But good news, the roads are actually dry enough that I can take this thing out and experience the new clutch without having to worry about ice or anything like that. So I say, let's end story time and get this Maserati out on the road. The last time I drove the car was directly after Johnny got done replacing the clutch. So I really didn't get a good driving impression of it because it was night, I was tired, it was cold, and I was mostly focused on getting the car home before the massive snowstorm. So this is genuinely my first time driving the car with the new clutch, and I gotta say, what a crazy difference. I would never previously be able to be in this gear at this throttle level and have it hold. Like right now, it would be slipping, and right now it's holding power like a normal car. Let me turn around here and I'll show you the other best part of having a new clutch. Still have wheel rub, that didn't change. The best part of having this new clutch is the power difference. Oh my! I mean, holy crap. I thought it was pretty fast before with the old slipping clutch, but I had no idea. This thing is so much faster now that it holds power. Let me do that again, that was fun. Oh, the wheel rub is so bad. All right, see, we'll wait. Normally I'd have to shift because it would start slipping right now, but wow, holy smokes. I had no idea. I thought that the car was about as fast as it would be with the slipping clutch. No, this car is night and day difference in speed level. That's freaking incredible. Oh my God. Well, that new clutch certainly made all the difference in the world. It's like driving an entirely new car, and I can't wait to put more miles on it. And now, after that story time, you guys all know what it was like to purchase a used TV show car and try to bring it up to a presentable condition. Turns out it's a roller coaster of emotions and, well, a little bit of money. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, join my Facebook group. There's a lot of memes and fun to be had in there. Follow me on Instagram as I try to post a little bit of behind the scenes content when I can. Other than that, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe on this video, and I will see you guys in the next video.